So I was 49 years old, had another 16 years in front of me at work as far as I was concerned, looking forward to all these things in retirement 16 years away. And then I started to get up in the night to go to the toilet. I did what most blokes don't do, and I went to the doctors pretty much straight away. And after a blood test and the usual, what I now call the doctor's special handshake, I came back to find out that I had advanced prostate cancer. It had spread to my lymph nodes, in my chest and my neck, and as such, my prognosis was as short as 2 years, maybe 4. I remember being told not to think 10. Whatever happens, don't think 10 years. So of course, I was told that, my wife was there, and we both burst into tears.
When prostate cancer has spread to other parts of the body, it is usually treated with drugs which try to keep it under control. Recent research into new drugs has improved how long men with prostate cancer that has already spread live. But we still need to improve treatment so men whose disease is diagnosed after the cancer has spread can live longer.
We know that radiotherapy is a standard treatment for localised prostate cancer. That is cancer that is still within the prostate. But 7,000 or around 7,000 men a year are diagnosed with prostate cancer that has already spread outside the prostate. So immediately the question of would adding radiotherapy to standard treatment for men who have already got disease spread, metastatic disease as it is called, would that be of interest? Well, 7,000 men I think are going to say, yes please, we would like to know.
So what is radiotherapy and how is it given?
Radiotherapy is a treatment for cancer. It works by delivering high energy X-rays to the site of the tumour. It's usually delivered by a big machine called a linear accelerator. And as far as patients are concerned, it's a little bit like having an ordinary X-ray, but repeated many times. So they have to lie on a couch, keep still, they don't feel anything. The treatment lasts just a couple of minutes each day and is usually repeated 5 days a week, maybe for 4 weeks.
There's a lot of fear about radiotherapy, I guess, before you start it, but actually it's painless and quite simple. The hardest thing is keeping a full bladder for half an hour beforehand, but the actual process itself is fantastic. The nurses and doctors are fantastic. Nothing to be scared of at all, really.
The STAMPEDE trial has been running since 2005 and is testing new ways to improve prostate cancer treatment. In 2013, STAMPEDE started testing the use of radiotherapy to the prostate in men whose prostate cancer has already spread elsewhere in the body.
So in the trial, all men received the standard drug treatment, and half of the men in the trial also received prostate radiotherapy in addition. So the idea was to test whether the use of prostate radiotherapy would make men live longer compared with standard drug treatment alone.
This comparison recruited just over 2,000 men from across the UK and some men from Switzerland, all of whom have been diagnosed recently with prostate cancer that spread elsewhere.
By late 2018, the STAMPEDE team had enough data to look at whether radiotherapy improved how long these men lived. So what did it find?
For the group as a whole, we found no evidence using radiotherapy to the prostate improved survival. About 62 in every 100 men allocated to the standard of care was still alive after 3 years. And that was increased to about 65 in every 100 men still alive after 3 years with the addition of radiotherapy. So that's a very small increase, and we've got no evidence to show that that's a real effect.
However, when we looked at men who had what we call a low metastatic burden, so these are men whose cancer had spread to a limited extent, to the lymph nodes or to the bones in the pelvis and the spine. So these men with a low burden, they did benefit from prostate radiotherapy and they did live longer if they received prostate radiotherapy compared with drug treatment on its own.
There we showed that in the standard of care arm, the men not having radiotherapy, about 73 in every 100 was still alive after 3 years. And that was improved with radiotherapy to about 81 in every 100 being alive after 3 years. So that's about 8 extra men in every 100 still alive with radiotherapy if their disease hadn't spread very far from the prostate originally.
Care is needed when making recommendations based on results from just some of the people taking part in a trial, as there's a danger the difference may be due to chance rather than the trial treatment. So how sure can we be that the effect seen among men with low burden disease is real?
We can be very confident that prostate radiotherapy does improve survival in men with a limited spread of the disease. After all, it was a large trial with over 2,000 men. Around 800 of them fitted into this low burden category, and the statistical tests show that we can be very confident this is a real benefit.
So, radiotherapy improved how long just some of the men in the trial lived, but did it delay the disease getting worse?
In terms of time to the disease getting worse, we showed a clear advantage to using radiotherapy for all of the patients, regardless of whether they had very low disease burden or whether they had a very high disease burden. Having radiotherapy kept their disease away for longer.
Sometimes improvements in life expectancy from new treatments come at the cost of increased side effects. So what side effects did men who received radiotherapy in the STAMPEDE trial experience?
Prostate radiotherapy is a very widely used treatment, and it's got a good side effect profile. It's very well tolerated on the whole. It can affect bladder function, it can affect bowel function, but the risk of long-term bladder or bowel side effects is very small. And in actual fact, in the trial, the risk of side effects in the long run was no different in patients who did or did not receive prostate radiotherapy.
So, the STAMPEDE trial has shown that radiotherapy can improve survival for some men whose prostate cancer has spread. But what does this mean in practice for men with prostate cancer?
As a patient still being actively treated, I would like my doctor and myself to have options that we can consider which is in my best interests and which is likely to slow down the disease or enable me to live longer. And what these results have shown, by adding radiotherapy to the prostate alongside standard treatment for men whose disease has already spread, those with low volume disease will live longer. So I think it's an excellent result and another positive out of the STAMPEDE trial.
I'm so glad I had the radiotherapy, because what I didn't know then but I know now is in my situation with prostate cancer, where it's spread but not spread to too many sites, it's a fantastic thing to do.
These results are very good news, showing radiotherapy can help some men whose disease has spread to live longer. But in order for patients to benefit, it needs to be used in practice.
I would like to say to doctors in the NHS when they see these results, please implement this as clinical practice as soon as possible. Radiotherapy is widely available. This new treatment doesn't involve any hugely expensive drugs. It doesn't require any new equipment. It's something that I think patients would like to see implemented as soon as possible.
The results of this trial will change clinical practice. So in future, men who have low burden metastatic prostate cancer will receive now prostate radiotherapy in addition to the standard drug treatment. There's a different group of patients in whom the cancer has only spread to the lymph glands in the pelvis just near the prostate, and these men were not included in the trial. And until now they've often been treated with hormone therapy alone. But what we can say from the trial is that if prostate radiotherapy improves the survival of men whose cancer has spread to lymph nodes elsewhere in the body, then we can be very confident that it would also improve survival in men whose prostate cancer had just spread to the local lymph nodes in the pelvis. And so that's another reason why these trial results are important. So in future, men with pelvic lymph node involvement from their prostate cancer, they should also receive radiotherapy as well as hormone therapy.
A huge amount of work from many hundreds of people goes into running trials like STAMPEDE, so it's always good when they find a new treatment that can benefit patients.
I personally find these results extremely gratifying. So in general, advances in cancer treatment tend to be with new drugs. They tend to be very expensive. There tends to be a great delay until they're available, and even then availability is limited. One of the great things about these results is that prostate radiotherapy is widely available, it's cheap, it's simple, and can be implemented straight away.
Well over 10,000 men have now taken part in STAMPEDE, or are still taking part in the STAMPEDE trial. STAMPEDE has already demonstrated there are new treatments available for newly diagnosed men. None of that could have happened without the willing participation of all the people that have participated. So to those men, one has to say a huge thank you, and not just a thank you from the UK, because STAMPEDE is a trial that's followed internationally. And so for future patients all over the world, these men are making a difference.
Chris Parker gave me early chemotherapy and he gave me radiotherapy, both of which weren't the protocol at the time. And I had to trust him. 3 years on, I then read a study that he was part of that basically says for my particular style of prostate cancer, it was probably a very good thing to do. So for me, the STAMPEDE trial has been absolutely amazing. It's brought forward the treatment of men with advanced prostate cancer by leaps and bounds. Without it, men would probably be on average dying 2 years quicker. And that's absolutely amazing, and it's so important that people like me keep on raising money so that the wonderful doctors and nurses and research scientists and postgrads can keep on doing their work to save more men.